Hey, how's it going, everybody? Brad the Guitarist here. In this video, we're going to do a lot of random things. I've got some footage that I wanted to show you guys in a Shitpost Friday, but it doesn't look like we're going to be doing many of those. For right now, I'd like to show you a few clips from my recent trips to Goodwill and also to peddlers malls, which are like antique malls. Also, I want to show you a very large tube haul that I found recently on Facebook Marketplace. So if you'd like to look at all that with me, stick around. Also for this video, I have a new microphone in my arsenal. This is an Audio-Technica AT4040. Comment below and let me know how you think it sounds for all the voiceover work. Okay, so check out this cool Goodwill find that I found the other week at Goodwill. This is a mid-1960s, probably 1964 or 65, Magnavox Turntable Console. This has got the microgroove turntable, AM/FM stereo. All the good stuff. Mid-1960s is a good era for these. For $19.99, that's not a bad price, right? Came with a couple of records even. But usually when I find these, I try to get them if I can get them fairly cheap. This thing, really, 20 bucks was a no-brainer for me. You do usually have to do work on these when you find them. The 60s is a perfect era for these because 1950s is kind of early because you don't get the Micromatic record grooves, and a little bit later you get into plasticky cabinets. Over here on this shelf, I found this thing. This is an 8-track stereo standalone thing. Might have even come in with the console for $5. It was kind of a no-brainer. I wasn't going to pass it up for $5 because I can make something out of it. And then there was this, which was an old projector. But look at this thing. It's got that old motor. I mean, we're talking seriously old here, probably 1920s or 30s. And $8. I mean, even as a display piece, it's worth $8 to me, and that motor's cool. And then at a different Goodwill, different day, I ran across this. So this is 1970s Japanese acoustic, but I thought it was interesting just because of the features. You know, it has that adjustable bridge, binding on the neck, kind of the cheesy inlays. Nothing on the headstock though, and nothing anywhere on it. That little gold tag right there gives me a clue. I think this might be Matsumoku, but I'm not 100% sure. But you can see there the wood that they're using is just kind of interesting. It's definitely laminated because it's got dark on the inside, but it has that light strip on the outside, so that certainly is laminated, which you would expect on the back of an acoustic of this era. But I just thought the features were interesting, and for $80.99, I mean, it's not a terrible price, but it was going to need some work. Definitely needs a truss rod adjustment. The action was really high, and it had some bellying, I think, on the bridge a little bit, but nothing I don't think I couldn't have adjusted out. Like I said, the action's really high here. I'm just kind of testing it for the hell of it. Anytime I see guitars at Goodwill, I always have to usually pick them up and walk around the store with them and play while I shop. Because why not? You know, you might as well get some practice in while you shop. Okay, this next little bit is from a trip I took to one of our local peddlers malls. I actually went to get this thing. This is a tape recorder, reel-to-reel from 1953. It's a Crestwood, and it had the breakout speaker and everything. You could see this booth is kind of cool. It had a lot of different things. One of my viewers actually contacted me and showed me some of the things that were in this booth, and what caught my eye was that reel-to-reel set, because it was only $59. But like I said, they had a lot of other cool things too. That's an old Lafayette receiver there, a really old 1930s or 20s receiver. There's a Boomerang, Zenith. You know, when you go to a peddler's mall like this, often the prices are what you would see retail, you know, anywhere else. So I don't know if I would call any of these really a deal. But then again, if they're fully restored, maybe they are to somebody. $89 for this little thing. That's kind of cool because it had like the little breakout speaker, and it was early plastic or Bakelite. Nice old upright console there. But you know, for $250, you would have to really want that thing. They feel the need to actually tell kids, you know, or adults not to push the push buttons, or the push buttons will end up looking like the push buttons on this one, which have seen better days. But mostly that's because of Bakelite rot. You can see the Bakelite has kind of shrunk and cracked and rotted. Very much the same way that old tuner buttons do on like 50s Gibsons and stuff like that. This one looks pretty nice. It's in great shape, actually, this Emerson. I have an Emerson from that same era in a kind of a similar cabinet. I'll put a link up there if you want to check out the restoration on that. Here's a silver tone. Good-looking cabinet on that one, too. Fully recapped. For $115, you know, you don't really know the level of the work that was done, but given the fact that there are so many radios in this booth, I would say that the person who owns this booth probably does this as a hobby and knows what they're doing. That would be my guess. Chocolate Bakelite for $70. No, probably is a little All-American 5. Another little All-American 5, probably Emerson. Okay, on to a different booth now. Kind of a cool clock radio right there. It's old Motorola for $40. Lots of cool old stuff in this booth, actually. It's another little radio. I love this. I thought twice about getting that suitcase right there. $20 for a little, probably fixer-upper radio. It's missing like the front dial cover. Bunch of loose records. I always steer clear of loose records for sure. Here's another Motorola, actually. I'd probably say early 50s, late 40s on that one, be my guess. This was kind of neat. I had to look this up. This is a signal core transmitter. It's made by GE. It was wartime for sure, and probably went in airplanes. It's a piece of Dumont test equipment for radios, signal tester, I think it is. Frequency tester. Now to the other side of this booth, I love that little military drawer system right there. It was kind of cool. They have lots of cool stuff over here. I didn't even really look at all of it. I just kind of skimmed it. I think it was sort of running late into the evening by the time I got over here to see this. There's a console stereo. Or a radio, excuse me, missing its cabinet. Something from the 70s there, right there. And then another little Bakelite radio, probably early 50s, late 40s. This definitely caught my eye. Okay, this is, you've seen me do a couple of these in the past, kind of servicing these and also run a guitar through them to see what they sound like with a guitar through them, and they actually sound pretty phenomenal. These old Japanese reel-to-reels, they're really cheesy. They don't work very well. There's a tube, a capacitor tester, and there's a tube tester. My daughter's over there screaming something silly. I'm not sure what all those were right there. Are those, I think, those are comms devices for maybe tanks or aircraft right there? Is that what those are?
All right, come on up.
I think that might be what those are. But this really caught my eye, and this was going home with me. It did not have a price on it when I picked it up, so when I took it up front, I think they wanted, it was either $15 or $20 for it, so I went ahead and gave them that price. Probably a bit high, but I know what I can do with it. I can definitely run a guitar through it and make a cool pedal out of it or something. The reason I was interested in this one is because I have that same cabinet that's empty, and I wasn't sure what went in it, so it really kind of caught my eye for that reason. And also, it has a nice handle on it. For $32, you can scarcely find a handle that's that good for that kind of price now. And it's vintage too. It's 1950s, and it's got the hardware right there. If you were restoring like an old Champ or something, that'd be perfect for that. Okay, now I want to take a little closer look at this reel-to-reel system that I bought here. Again, this is from 1953. It's a Crestwood Model 401. You can see it has a magic eye right there, which are getting pretty scarce in and of themselves. And for $60, I think I did all right on this thing. It's got also the breakout amplifier with speaker in a separate box. You'll see that here in just a minute. But inside of this box, if we open it up, you'll see it has that main chassis right there. You can see the motor with the fan, but that chassis is right beneath that. That's the preamplifier chassis. We'll take a little bit of a closer look at it in just a second as well. Inside the box there, you can see there's a separate chassis that is power only. So this thing has a power supply on a separate chassis. And there's a little bit of a closer look at the separate power supply. The tube that's there is just a rectifier tube, and that little power transformer is obviously just powering that. And then it's got cabling that runs to the other chassis that provides power for all the other tubes. And here's the schematic for that little power amp. You can see it just has the one single rectifier tube. Also has a bridge rectifier for the filaments. I think that's for filaments. No, maybe not, because that say 16.3 volts. So yeah, I might be wrong on that. Here's a little closer look at the preamplifier chassis. You can see the big socket there with the black on the back. That's for the magic eye, and the rest of it is for the preamplifier itself. The first stage in this thing is a 5879, and then it has several 12 AU7s in it in addition to that. And again, a little better shot of it there. But you can see all of the tubes are pretty much vintage RCA tubes from 1953. And like I said, for $60, you really, I think I couldn't have done much better. That's why I usually always buy these things, man, when I see them, just because, the amount of parts you're getting, even if you just parted it out completely, is usually worth well in excess of what you pay for these old reel-to-reels. And here's a shot of the schematic. Again, we got a 5879 up front, which is a tube that Gibson used in some of its late 50s amplifiers, such as the GA40 and GA20T. Those amplifiers sound phenomenal. I'll put a link up at the top right of your screen right there if you want to hear a couple of those amps with the 5879s up front. But what could you use this for, this preamp? I would say, if you wanted to, you could turn this into a kind of a cool mic preamp probably, or you could make a little guitar preamp out of it. I think eventually what I might do here is make a couple of little guitar amps out of this thing. Subscribe to the channel and maybe you'll see this thing worked on in the future. I'm sure we'll turn it into something cool. And finally, here's a shot of the other unit that I got with this. Like I said, one of them was the Model 401. This one, I can't remember the model, but this is the breakout amplifier with speaker, whereas the other part is just a power supply and a preamp with the reel-to-reel. The output hooks into this, and this is the power amp. So really, you would have needed both of these back in the day, unless you were using just headphones. I think pretty much all recordings at this time on this thing would have been mono, so you really only needed the one speaker. But yeah, I thought that was really cool and a nice find for like $60. I mean, like I said, nice Jensen 8-inch speaker, Alnico speaker from 1953. You've got a couple of different chassis you could make stuff out of here. Just lots and lots of possibilities of stuff that we could do. Okay, and finally, I wanted to show you this recent tube acquisition that I got off of Facebook Marketplace. Check this out, man. Okay, so here is my latest tube score, and I'm very, very happy with this. I got this big box, which is a couple layers deep. Is that three? That's 3 layers deep. So check this out. These are all 6V6s, 6 SC7s, all the stuff that you use in older octal preamp stuff, SN7s, just lots of that stuff. There's some more SC7s. See, there's a 6N7. So this is, I mean, you think about early tube amps, 30s, 40s, 50s. This is the kind of stuff that would have gone in all that. And then you've got, like I said, a whole nother layer down lower. There's some SKs, SH7s, 6 SJ7s. Let's see what else we got. Who knows? And like I said, it's 3 layers deep, just this one box. There, it looks like we've got some 12 volt tubes, a couple of them there. There's a 6J5. There's an SA. There's a number 84. It's a 5W4 rectifier. So that's the second layer. Let's see if there is indeed a third layer. There must be, because that's the box is too deep otherwise. Yep, it sure is. 6X5 GT. It goes all the way down, and look at this. These are all in U.S. Navy boxes. Don't let the tape fool you. The guy I just bought these from said that the guy he bought them from years and years ago said they were all new tubes. And now that I'm looking at them, he said he taped them on the boxes because he didn't want them to come open. So that was his doing, apparently. But see, that's a 6SH7 U.S. Navy right there, 6SH7. So that's a Joint Army Navy 6SH7. All these that have the tape on the ends are Jan tubes. So that box, I mean, I gave $40 for all this. So we've got this big box with 3 layers. That box, there's another box, there's another box, and here's another box. This one's got lots of cool stuff in it. It's got some 1619s. It's got some 1625s, right? Yeah, some RCA made Joint Army Navy 1625s in the box. Look at that, 1625 in the box, made by RCA, accepted 1944. So this is wartime. This is all war surplus tubes. I am overjoyed. I'm overjoyed. There's a whole box there to go through. There's some good stuff in that box right there. There's some good stuff in this box. I can't wait to dig all this stuff out. I am overjoyed. There's so much of it. Yes, there are a lot of things here I can't use, but there's a lot of stuff I will be able to use. But see what I mean? All these with the tape on them, these are all in Navy boxes. Some of them have the designation marked out, but we'll come to that when we get there as to what's what. Should be interesting. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and for now, we'll see y'all later.